Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's my pleasure to rise and support the motion moved by the member for Kingston. Australia has performed peacekeeping roles since the newly formed United Nations saw the first peacekeeping operation deployed in Indonesia in the independence struggle in 1947. The UN believes that peacekeeping has proven to be one of the most effective ways to assist countries to navigate the difficult path from conflict to peace at the earliest opportunity. This was the first instance of Australia's now 70 years involvement in international peacekeeping, a period that has seen many great Australians serving to assist the shift from conflict to peace in countries and regions around the world. This international awareness assisted the Indonesians in gaining independence from the Netherlands, protected the South Koreans from invasion by the North, has helped placate some of the worst tensions in Kashmir and ensured peace prevailed upon the agreement of the ceasefire in the Iran-Iraq War in 1988. Australian observers and peacekeepers played a major role in dealing with all these conflicts. Peacekeepers have also included non-military personnel such as the Australian Police assisting in Cyprus since 1964, bridging differences between Greek and Turkish communities, and medical staff who assisted locals and the UN overseas in the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Australians have not only served with distinction but made significant differences in other regions around the world. Diverse places like Korea, Israel, Congo, Kashmir, Lebanon, Namibia, Somalia, Kosovo, East Timor, Bougainville, Solomon Islands and so many more places have seen service by Australians. Peacekeepers from all over the world play a unique and important role in supporting the transition in areas which have seen significant civil unrest and often violence and other disturbances. Today's peacekeepers are called upon not only to maintain peace and security, but also to facilitate and maintain the political process, protect civilians, assist in disarmament, demobilisation and the reintegration of former combatants. They support elections, human rights and the restoration of the rule of law in places where the civilian population has been struggling without democracy and services for some time. Over 70,000 Australians have performed with distinction and honour as peacekeepers around the globe. They are guided by three basic principles: consent of the parties, impartiality and to only use force when required for self-defence. To be successful, they must be seen as legitimate and credible and promote ownership of the process in the host country. Australia's peacekeepers come not only from our military services but also from serving police officers and civilians who use their expertise to assist countries in rebuilding efforts and support the civilian populations in war-torn areas. Australians have been called to lead these multinational operations since 1950. Amongst those, our now Governor-General, Major General Peter Cosgrove, commanded the international force in East Timor in 1999, but also several others have served with distinction and ensured that the objectives of the operation were met as much as possible. It's also right to acknowledge that peacekeepers is a dangerous activity that unfortunately has resulted in the death and injury of Australians while serving overseas. 16 Australians have died while on peacekeeping operations, 3 in the last decade. Protective Service Officer Ronald Lewis in 2010, Craftsman Beau Prideaux in 2011 and Sergeant Brett Kinlock in February 2012. On the 14th of September, the Australian Peacekeeping Memorial was opened in Canberra. The memorial joins others on Anzac Parade and recognises those service personnel, police and civilians that have put their own safety at risk to support the objectives of the United Nations and help end the conflict and return areas to functioning democratic countries. The memorial has been planned for the last decade and was completed with donations and grants from the Australian Government, some Australian companies, veterans organisations and other nations. The most recent donation was from Timor-Leste, where our peacekeepers proved to be very helpful in the last few years. I'd like to thank all Australian peacekeepers for their bravery and selflessness to keep the world a better and more peaceful place. I especially acknowledge the families of our peacekeepers. Without their support, they would not be able to have been so effective. I acknowledge those who have made the supreme sacrifice for our safety, and I commend the motion to the House.